Hello and welcome to a new trip report. I am in Frankfurt where I have just arrived on a morning flight. I have dreaded this airport for years as the experience traveling through this airport very quickly and very often turns bad. So why have I put myself into the predicament of traveling from Frankfurt Airport, arguably Europe's worst airport once again? Well, the reason why I'm in Frankfurt today is because there is an airline in the Lufthansa group that I haven't tried out yet. And that airline is called Eurowings Discover. So we will today be on a flight from Frankfurt to Las Palmas to see how they are doing. Is there any difference to the Lufthansa mainline? I doubt it, but we will see. Those familiar with Frankfurt Airport will already have recognized that we are on our way from Frankfurt Terminal 1A to B, as our departure gate this morning will be from B4. There's still some time until boarding begins, which Eurowings Discover is doing by groups as the rest of the Lufthansa Group airlines nowadays, so we can still relax a little bit and enjoy the view. But not for too long. The typical boarding chaos could also be experienced on today's flight, but more because of the passengers' inability to follow the otherwise very clear instructions given through the PA system. Eurowings Discover is marketed as a low-coster, but as you can see, offers a two-class cabin. Alright, welcome on board this Eurowings Discover flight from Frankfurt to Las Palmas. Let's see what the crew can offer us today and what the flight experience will be like. The cabin of Eurowings Discover follows the standards of the Lufthansa Group with the Euro Economy chairs that are okay comfortable for 1 to 2 hour flights. For longer flights like today, it can however get somewhat uncomfortable. The seat pitch is however totally alright. As a point of reference, I'm 182 centimeters tall. Due to the fog, our departure is delayed by about 40 minutes, but despite that, it looks like someone didn't make the flight. So let's use the time while we're waiting for the departure. The seats don't offer any features like power plugs, but we do find some reading material in form of the safety card, the onboard duty-free shop, the so-called onboard bar, which we will take a look at in a minute, and while there is no Wi-Fi on board, there is offered the so-called onboard cloud, which we will also try out during the flight. But let's see what the onboard bar has to offer. Cold meals and sandwiches are offered for reasonable prices, at least considering what onboard food can cost. Not unusual, some form of combo deals are also offered, but they only show what you will save and not the total price of the offer, which isn't very customer friendly. Various hot meals are also offered, as well as a selection of snacks. Alcoholic beverages, including a gin and tonic deal, are offered, which I definitely want to try. And of course, soft drinks, coffee and tea are also available. But before we can try out any of that, we need to get in the air. So let's get going. Once in the air, I tried using the onboard cloud, which basically is the IFE that you can access with your mobile device. And given that most people, if not all, do have mobile devices with them, so to use them instead of installing a heavy IFE system on a plane that just increases the fuel consumption makes sense. On the first half hour of our 4-hour journey, I was however unable to access the cloud. Once I finally managed to get in, I could take a look at the offerings, a limited selection of movies and single episodes of TV shows, some reading material, and the all-important air show was what I could find. Not a lot, but for one flight sufficient. For those flying more than once a month, the selection will however quickly become tiresome, and most disappointingly in my opinion was the complete lack of any music in the cloud. But I guess it's a good thing that I brought backup entertainment with me. The onboard service was started, and here I, as mentioned, had to try the gin and tonic deal. For me, the elephant gin was a gin I hadn't tried before, and while it can't beat a Hendrix, it was alright. In the second round of service that was started 1 hour before arrival, I then decided to go for some food. One of 2 sandwich options was by now unavailable, so I had to make do with the cheese sandwich. A little bit better than those dreaded Lufthansa sandwiches served before Corona, for those who remember them, but not much better. But I guess better than nothing. Half a liter of water for €2.50 is however alright on board an airplane, if you ask me. As we approach Las Palmas airport, we have some time to talk about today's flight and the airline. Eurowings Discover is the latest low-coster in the Lufthansa group, but what the airline really is another way for the Lufthansa management to undermine existing agreements with unions and to further dump wages for staff. The product offered is marginally, if at all, differing from that of Lufthansa, and while the experience on today's flight definitely wasn't bad, the truth is that the product also doesn't differ much from that of real low-costers that, however, sell tickets for much lower prices. So Lufthansa, or in today's trip, Eurowings Discover, can't gain any points over the low-cost competition with their hard product. But what I don't want to leave out is the crew performance, because this is where today's flight made a difference. The crew was good, no, great. They were relaxed and showed a joy and easiness when doing their tasks during the flight that clearly rubbed off on passengers, as there was a notably easy and relaxed atmosphere on board throughout the flight. And yes, of course, we are flying to a holiday destination, so most passengers will be on their way to a vacation, which tends to relax people, but the crew did an outstanding job making passengers feel relaxed. This flight has once more convinced me that where airlines really can make a difference in the passenger's experience is how well the crew performs, and not so much with their seats or food offered, at least when looking at European carriers. And this is just one more reason why it's such a shame that less and less airlines are paying their staff a decent salary, because what this flight once more showed, they bloody well deserve it. Wiedersehen. Alright, so with that, welcome to Las Palmas. Overall, I would say quite an enjoyable flight. Nothing that unexpected, but I would like to just one more time highlight that I think the crew did a lovely job today. Now, I will be spending a few days here at Las Palmas doing some plane spotting, and that content will of course also be up here on the channel. And then I have a flight back home where I again will be flying with Eurowings Discover, but this time to Munich. And I do intend to make a video on that as well. So if you're interested in that, keep your eyes out for that, because it will be up here on the channel. With that, thank you so much for having joined me on this trip, and see you in another one.